We gather today in your august council as the Middle East region is burning from all sides. Lebanon is not doing well. Gaza is not doing well, as military Israeli forces and rows of battle tanks and armored vehicles are all along the southern borders of Lebanon. The Israeli government and its cabinet have ratified the ground invasion of Lebanon, which has started last night. This follows 11 months of a barbaric aggression that spared no civilians, no eyewitnesses, no aid workers, no journalists, no children, no women, and no elderly. Since the 8th of October 2023, Israel has killed and injured thousands of people in a blatant violation of UN Charter, international law, and international humanitarian law, and all international norms and humanitarian principles. Therefore, what Israel is claiming that this is merely limited surgical military operations, this is untrue. The damages to civilians and the civilian infrastructure are immense. What took place in Ain ad-Dilb village demonstrates just that. An Israeli strike on the 29th of September targeted a residential building, causing a massacre and killing 71 victims, including dozens of women and children, all buried in a mass grave. This tragedy recalls previous Israeli massacres during its previous invasions and attacks on Lebanon, particularly the two Qana massacres of 1996 and 2006. Israel has reaffirmed time and again its utter disregard for international law, despite the calls from all members of the Security Council in general and Switzerland especially on Israel to abide by its obligations under international law. Madam President, words and complaints have lost their meaning. How many times have we come before this Council and warned of the catastrophic situation along the southern borders? How many times have we sounded the alarm that this war could become a regional war that includes many fronts? What is happening today, this unprecedented level of killing, displacement, and destruction, this can no longer be tolerated or ignored. The policy of putting our heads in the sand and facing a confrontation with Israel is no longer useful. The south and the southern suburb of Beirut are sleeping on the streets. Mothers are carrying their children, fleeing the horrors of the destructive strikes and missiles used against civilians. Israel has intensified its aggression and its crimes against Lebanon and its capital, Beirut. In one day alone, on the 23rd of September, Israel, through its aerial bombardments, killed 569 people, including 50 children and 94 women. They've also assassinated the Secretary General of Hezbollah, His Eminence, on the 27th of September. Across history, there was never consensus for a standard description for any military, political, or revolutionary individual. And history is rich with examples of these individuals. Your council here today is divided over a correct description. However, there is consensus among everyone that confronting an occupying force is resistance. Madam President, as we have said time and again, and as His Excellency the Prime Minister has said in his statement before this Council last week, and as the Foreign Minister of Lebanon has repeated once and again, the people of Lebanon and the government of Lebanon reject the war. They want the implementation of Resolution 1701 with all its provisions. They want to deploy the Lebanese army in the south along our ground borders with the support of UNIFIL. This is the only solution for this blind war and this barbaric aggression. We have expressed our willingness to strengthen the presence of the army in the south, and the government has announced that it has opened the door for the enlistment of 1,500 new soldiers to comply with the implementation of Resolution 1701. In this regard, I recall that Lebanon has agreed to the French-American initiative that Israel has also initially agreed to, but then rejected this initiative, even annihilated it with a wave of killing and destruction that has been unprecedented in scale and violence. We also reaffirmed the official position as stated by the Prime Minister yesterday. We remain committed to the call issued by the American and French presidents, supported by a number of friendly and sisterly countries. We pledge to implement all the points of the declaration, including an immediate ceasefire, to start to look into the implementation of Resolution 1701 fully. We welcome the call and we pledge to implement it immediately. And upon a ceasefire, we are prepared to deploy the Lebanese army to the area south of the Litani River so that it can carry out its function fully in coordination with UNIFIL in the south. Madam President, today we are moving further and further towards an open, unrestricted regional war. The solution is to go back to political solutions based on relevant resolutions of international legitimacy. This situation will not be resolved until of Resolution 1701, and if we only focus on imposing military solutions instead of diplomatic solutions. Furthermore, the situation in Palestine will not be resolved and will only escalate, and the waves of killing and destruction will continue unless resolutions of the United Nations are implemented, particularly resolutions 2735, 242, 338 on the establishment of the Palestinian state. The Security Council must shoulder its responsibility to prevent an implosion in the Middle East and to help us exit this dark tunnel. Madam President, Lebanon today is facing an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Lebanon needs urgent humanitarian assistance. It is the only state that hosts 2 million Syrian IDPs, 500,000 Palestinian refugees, and we also have around 1 million Lebanese IDPs. This is an unusual precedent. We have warned before of the risk of displacement, and today we are before a humanitarian crisis with 1 million IDPs, with thousands of them on the streets, without food, without water, without medication. Therefore, we are requiring assistance to confront this catastrophe. Yesterday, in cooperation with the United Nations, we launched an urgent appeal for $426 million to respond to this humanitarian crisis. We would like to thank all those who contributed to the aid efforts, from friendly and sisterly countries, from UN agencies, and we call on all stakeholders and all countries to contribute as well. Madam President, our history with Israel has been permeated with many invasions in 1978, 1982, and 2006. And all these invasions, all these occupations that resulted in great devastation, the killing of thousands of civilians, they all ended with the defeat and withdrawal of Israel. Today's invasion will have the same result: another defeat to be added to the record of Israel with Lebanon. The land of the South recognizes its citizens, and our citizens in the South are rooted in their land. The olive tree that you burned with your white phosphorus will grow, will blossom, and bear fruit once again. And this consecrated land will reject any occupier for however long it takes. Madam President, Lebanon today is stuck between the Israeli destruction machine and the ambitions of others in the region. The Lebanese people rejects this fatal formula. Lebanon deserves life. Lebanon deserves life. Yes, Lebanon and the Lebanese people deserve life. I thank you.